Hi there, I've got a really spring-like card to show you, and we're going to be using one of the ivy borders, and we're going to show you how to make it a really realistic looking ivy on your card too. Okay, so the dies that we're going to be using today, out of our frames and tags section, we have the refined rectangles, and we're going to be using the center tag there for our sentiment. This is the ivy border from the Greek Island Border, Corner, and Tag collection. And out of the same collection, it's the Rhodes die for the centrifocal element. Now I think I'll start actually with the back of this and do my ivy first so you can kind of see how it all fits together. What I've done, I've gone ahead a time here and done some inking. I've used 3 colors of distress ink: forest moss, pine needles, and crushed olive. And I've just inked it onto a piece of white card randomly. And what that does is it'll allow you to cut your ivy die out of that, and it'll give you that realistic mix of colors, okay? So, and make sure you dry it real well. Then go ahead and put your ivy border on there. I'll get a little bit of tape it into place. And then we'll run it through with our little plates, I think. The die goes face down into the cutting plate with the base plate on top of it. So the flat side of the die is always to the base plate. Okay, now pop this out, and I think what I'm going to do is just to get a little more of a realistic look to it, I'm going to run it through and give it a quick emboss. So I've changed that out, put it face down onto my tan mat and my pink embossing plate, and covered it back up with the gray plate. Okay. Oop, pop right out there. Let me just carefully get it off of the mat so we don't tear it. There we go. We'll take these little pieces out, get them off the way. Okay. So now we've got a beautiful ivy. Let me undo that little curly Q. You can see you've got different variations in your ivy coming through, so it really gives it a pretty look. Now, to really make that stand out, what we're going to do is I'm going to lay it onto a piece of copy paper and bring this over here, and I'm going to use the Cosmic Shimmer Lacquer, okay? We're just going to go over the top of the leaves here, giving it that glossy shine. You can move it around with the tip. You don't want to shake this. You don't want to get bubbles in it. If you do, you can take a little straight pin and pop them. Just run that over the edge of each of these ivies and just kind of fill it in. Really, really simple. It doesn't take any kind of special skills for this at all. Anybody can do this. So I'll just do a few and you can kind of see what it's going to look like. Now you can do the whole thing if you like. I've just done the leaves on mine. There we go, there's another one. So you can see the shine is really coming up on that. Let me see if I can tip this a little bit and show it to you. Now what you'll need to do is you'll need to set this aside to dry, and I usually will give it several hours, if not overnight. Okay, so I'm going to put this out of the way for now because I have one that I've already done ahead of time. So you can see how pretty that is when it dries. It really gives it a lovely look. And you can even go through and highlight your veins through the die with a little bit of ink if you really want them to stand out. That's what I've done here. Okay, so the next thing I've done a little bit of this ahead of time, just so I can not take too long, but I've gone ahead out of a piece of white card and I've die cut 2 ivies out of either side. So what I have left are the pieces. So I've put this one back into place and I've inlaid this one. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just take this piece here, and make sure I've got the right side up. There we go. I'm going to put some glue on it, get it all glued, and it's got all these little bits around here, so you want to go and make sure you've got the glue into those nicely. Pop it over here. A little bit more, and gluing it rather than taping it will allow you to have a little bit of movement to it. A little bit there. That should be enough. Okay. So now because that ivy has got a little bit of rigidity to it from the lacquer on it, you might have to wiggle this around just a tiny bit. Okay, so put that down. Make sure I get all my little edges there. And now we're going to put some glue on the back of this piece that we've done ahead of time. Make sure we got all our leaves nice and glued. And we'll trim the ends off of it that stick out, so we don't need glue all the way down. That looks pretty good. Let me make sure I match that to the center. There we go. Pop that into place. There we go. And while that's setting, I'm going to get glue on this one very quickly, so if I need to maneuver it around, I can do so, and then I'll trim the whole ends off. Put a little bit on those little bits out here. Make sure they're nice and sturdy. There we go. And we'll just inlay that back in right around that ivy. Go and get that last little curly Q guy in place. And I'm going to need a tiny bit of glue right there. Put that back down. Okay, so now I can just trim away the extra bit that I don't need. There. Yeah. So I've got a really pretty base for my card now. So set that aside, and we're going to work a little bit forward. So let me take my little pieces, and you could keep these for another card too, because they're nice and lacquered and really pretty. So I went ahead and I've done 3 sides with double-sided tape. And I'm just going to add my 4th side here. So I'll pull off a piece and line it up just right with the edge of that card. Excuse me while I lean in a little bit. Just lightly make sure that's attached. We'll trim away the extra bit on both sides. Just give it a little extra bling on our card. I'm going to be using the Diamond Snow by Cosmic Shimmer. It's a very fine crystal glitter. The difference between the Diamond Snow and the Diamond Sprinkles is the snow is a smaller particle, it's all the same size, whereas the Diamond Sprinkles has 3 sizes of particle in it, so it's got a little bit of a chunkier look to it. Not much, but just enough if you want a little bit of texture. I just wanted a nice, smooth edge on this one. Okay, and we'll just get all of that sticky edge captured. There we go. Maybe a little more on this side. Just rub the last of that in there, tap that off, and do a quick tidy. Okay, so now I've got a really lovely decorative edge. It's just got a little bit of an extra bling to it. So I'm going to put some tape on the back of my pierced layer here, and we'll attach that on. Add a bit more tape around the edges to make it nice and secure. And just center it around my pierced layer there. Make sure it's nice and attached. And I have a final base layer that we're going to add with a little bit of dimension. Some mounting foam. There we go. Center that. Right, and we can take the piece that we've done with our background and get it all ready too. Just put that right in the middle of our decorative base mats. Okay, that looks nice. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've cut the Rhodes for us. There's a lot of little detail in there, so I've popped all those out ahead of time. So I've done the larger piece and then the smaller piece. So I'm going to layer these up because they look really pretty together. And stick that in the center of my card. And I've stamped a little sentiment. So what I want to do is bring out that blingy layer, and I'm going to balance it by using it on this piece here. So I'm going to cover it with a little piece of self-adhesive sticky sheet. Okay. And since this is Diamond Snow and it's very flat, it's not very dimensional at all, we can go ahead and glitter it and then die cut it. So let's see. That should work. And Just make sure I'm good and covered so I'm not going to get it all sticky, and I'll just see if I can tip that back in there. And for this, I'm going to use the center of the refined rectangle, the little tag piece. So I'm just going to center that right on top of there. Tape it into place. Let me just make sure I'm nice and straight. And because I've got the glitter there, I want to make sure that tag hits the part that, or the tape hits the part that's not got glitter, so it'll hold it better. Bring my cutting mat back over here and my base plate. Run that little guy through. Give it a quick cut. We'll have a pretty sentiment for our card. Now you could go ahead and emboss that if you like. I'm just going to be quick about it. In fact, I will show you, but I've got one already set up with all the little pieces poked out of it. Just take this out for you. There we go. So you just need to poke out your little pieces there. So what we'll have is this little guy. Really, really pretty there. And finish off our card with a little bit of mounting foam. Put that in the center. Line that up, Bryce. And you've got a really gorgeous, very spring-like card. I think it's so pretty. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and can look for us on the YouTube channel under Creative Expressions for more videos.